Our lecture for this today is normal gait. We will know in the end of this lecture how we can define the normal gait, and then we will know how we can describe the gait cycle, and in the end we will know some terms that related with gait. Maybe you ask what we mean about gait. The gait is a displacement of body from one point to another, and we can describe it as a series of rhythmic, alternative, and identical movement of the upper and lower limb and the trunk, which result forward progression of the center of gravity of the body. And the main goal of all of that is to move the body from one point to another in of in minimum level of energy cost. After we know how we can define the gait, we will now describe it. The human gait is usually described in terms of various components of the gait cycle. Maybe you ask, what is gait cycle? The gait cycle is a series begin from with heel contact of the foot and end with the heel contact of the same foot. The gait cycle is divided into two major phases that name stance phase and swing phase. In one gait cycle, that can we see in the one gait cycle, the average relationship between the stance phase and the swing phase is 60% to 40% respectively. We will now define each of these phases. That we started now with the stance phase, and we define as by the period in which the foot is touching the ground. And the stance phase also known to be subdivided into 5 stages, which are the following. The first one of these stages is named as heel contact, and is defined as the point at which the heel first touch the ground, as we can see in the figure below. The second stage is foot flat, when the forefoot will touch the ground, and then the mid stance stage will become, and we can define as the point at which the heel are side by side. Then the fourth stage is heel off, and we can define as the time when the heel of the foot starts to leave the ground. And the last one, or last stage of stance phase, is named toe off, and we can define it as the point at which the toe of the foot leaves the ground, as we can see in this figure. When the foot in the stance phase, it will go to swing phase, that we can define by the period when the foot is not touching the ground, and it's divided into 3 stages by turn acceleration, mid swing, and deceleration. After we know how we can define the swing phase, we will go now to define the stages of it. The first one is acceleration. This stage happened when the toy leaves the floor and the leg will pick up its speed to catch up and passes the body. Then the foot will go to mid swing when the heels passes each other, and the last stage is deceleration after it happened after mid swing when the leg will go to slow down and stop just before heel strike to start another gait cycle. After we know how we can define the gait and know how we can describe the gait cycle, we will go now to know some terms that related with gait. The first one is walking pace, and we mean about this term is the width of walking pace, or it's the distance between the midpoint of the heel. The average of walking pace is between 5 to 10 centimeters. The next one is double support, and we mean by it the brief period of time between the stance phase and the swing phase when both feet are in contact with the floor. Other one is stride length, and we can define it as the distance between the heel strike until the next heel strike of the same foot, as we can see in the figure below. And the last term is step length, and we can define it as heel strike, the distance between the heel strike of one foot until the heel strike of the other foot. And in the end of our lecture, maybe we can ask you some question. Can you describe the human normal gait? Thank you for your attention, and we hope that you have some benefit from this lecture. Goodbye.